Roster Rescue episode number 4. If you're not already part of the community, do so. You can join through the Patreon, patreon.com/allgas, or ddfantasyfootball.com if you want your roster rescued. I pick 5 or 6 in the case of today's episode. Random rosters to rescue. Going to go through some high-level roster construction, direction analysis, maybe a couple things that we can do quickly before moving on to the next team. So if you want to join the community, jump in, tap in, you can mock draft. It's going to be a lot of that over the next 6 weeks or so before the NFL draft. And a special, if you want a specific roster review with me, there's a promo code that I'm only going to give out on these shows. So if you're already in the community, if you're listening to this show, if you want one specifically with me, Chill15, all capital, Chill15. You get 15% on either roster review, whether it's live or recorded. So that is it. So let's get through the first one. You can get the review at ddfantasyfootball.com if you want. And again, Chill15 is the promo code. So we're going to get to the first team today, and I picked 6. And for today's, we're going to start with... This is Dewey's team first. So let me get it pasted here in the chat. So for Dewey's team, we got a 12-team start 11 with 32-man rosters. Here's the war. And I got to get it loaded up here. I did not preload these in Dynasty Data, so you're going to have to bear with me while I load each one of them, which takes, you know how it is, maybe 20 seconds or so. So this is what Dewey says about his team. So it's a 12x11. It's 32 roster spots. It is a 6-point per passing touchdown league, and it is point per completion. It is half point per first down. It is 0.25 point per carry. There's some bonuses. Let's just go down here. Look at Dynasty Daddy. So we got a 12x11. We got tight end. We got quarterback, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, 3 flexes, the super flex. Bench is 12. So I'm guessing roster spots are a little bit higher currently than what shows on Dynasty Daddy. Settings, 6 - 1. So right there, we know it's increased. I want to say it's increased passing production, because pretty much any quarterback that throws more is going to be benefiting by the 6 - 1. But then when you go down and you look at some of the others, I mean, the passing completions, there's a positive there. It's 0.1 per completion. Now it's also .01 negative for an incompletion. But again, most quarterbacks are completing more than 60%. So there's extra bonus there for the passing. And there's the 40-yard bonuses, 40-yard plays, and then first down bonus is 0.5. So let's just go right to the war. It's easier to look at it through there. So the first thing you can see is that obviously the 2 highest density. I'll give a shout out to Lee. He changed the colors on the war charts, so it's actually a little bit more friendly to see. But here you can clearly see the densities highest at running back and quarterback. The point per carry, the 0.25. You can always notice a 0.25 point per carry league, because you're going to see the running backs as the highest scorers in the league. Then you have the first down bonuses. So it's really like you already know that the flexes are going to be dominated by the running backs. And then you also know based on this, look at this green line or this red line. I'm going to get rid of all the other positions here real quick. Like even here, yes, the high-end quarterbacks up here are pretty valuable. But even when you compare it to the second most valuable position, probably with running backs, you can even see that when you get down to here, the quarterbacks still, from a density perspective, are keeping up. Even with the elite running back premium scoring, they're still keeping up in this range relative to the other positions. So even when you throw the receivers and the tight ends in here, like it's still important to have quarterbacks in this range. Even if they're not elite, like it's still important to probably be a little ahead of the market, especially when we get to the quarterback build. We have a lot of roster spots here. There's a lot of extra value here with the NERBs that you can carry. Now, you can play quarterback in a couple different ways, but this is probably one. The quarterback density is high enough that if I can rotate 3 good starters, I'd probably rather do it in this format than many others, given the quarterback scoring. Like, I want to lock in having that quarterback advantage every single week. I probably don't want to go slim at quarterback because I'm bypassing likely being able to roster some extra running backs. So let's get to his team. take a look at what we're dealing with here. So here's the roster. We have definitely the opposite going at quarterback. We have Lamar, which Lamar's fine, even though the other quarterbacks are boosted up relative to Lamar here. Lamar's fine. Malik Willis at QB2. Now, this is obviously a rebuild, and here's what he says. Startup from last year, he's the only one that's sold out for the future. Had more picks, but have been slow moving them. Have the 101, looking at Love, but wondering if should make some move to go for it or kick the can down the road one more year. Move Lamar during the season and try to draft Jeremiah Smith at 101 in 2027. Regardless, there's some rosters issues I need to correct, like trading some of the lower tight ends for RBs on a 53. Also, should I forego tight end at the back of the first since I already have so much stacked there? So we know we have the picks. Now, to answer one of the questions in there, this is actually not a league that I'm specifically tanking for Jeremiah Smith. So it isn't one where I'm like, I have to tank for him specifically. But if I ended up getting him, great. I probably can use another receiver here. Like, you probably want to go pretty slim at receiver. The flex rate at receiver here is really low. You have to start 3. You have Pickens, you have Pearsall. You could definitely add another, but the value of adding Jeremiah Smith is the asset, but also you're stacking at the top, but it's still stacking at the top of one of the least valuable positions, if not the least valuable position. Especially since you have your flexes covered with tight ends already. I mean, Bowers, Fannin, Laporte, and Gadsden, sure, you can move one of those guys. But between running backs and tight ends, I'm covering my flexes. So I'm almost trying to get, with this build, as high a quality I can at receiver, especially knowing that I'm going to have to play the any RB and the any QB strategy in the short term. Like, this roster is already pot committed to, I only have one quarterback, maybe 2 with Willis, and then I have some good secondary options. I mean, Levis, Bagent, Watson, Mariota, Cousins, Mac Jones, Shador Sanders. Like, the way you play this for next year doesn't mean you're going to win, but you have that kind of QB3 covered with the cumulative nature of these quarterbacks that you already have. RBs, it's a wasteland. It's definitely not going to keep up in a league with this running back premium, but that's okay. We're probably not going to contend next year, but the build is proper in terms of how you're playing this. So I'm not necessarily valuing that 101 next year as high as you would think. I know you're adding Love at 101. My point is I'm not valuing that. I would value Jeremiah Smith very little on the open market in this league. I would value him a lot to your team build. But, like, I would take 6 running backs over Jeremiah Smith in this format. Like, Jeremiah Love versus Jeremiah Smith's not even close. I'd need 2 Jeremiah Smiths to get a Jeremiah Love. That's just in terms of their expected production. Now, their actual market, that's a different story. So I'm not even penciling him in as next year's pick. Could be a quarterback. If there's an elite quarterback, like, you have a lot of flexibility next year. You do have an extra first. With this year's picks, more than likely there's going to be at least a receiver that you want to pick. This combine probably helped this 109 definitely be one of those higher pedigree receivers, whether it's Omar Cooper or Casey Concepcion or Denzel Boston. Like, you're going to be able to get one of those, maybe 2 of them, given the tight end class, given the running back class. Like, this is the type of format here that the combine only helps you, because receivers matter very little, but then tight ends and running backs matter more. And that's exactly what kind of rose over the weekend in the combine. So I don't even know if I want to take those players more, but the market should like them more. So here's how I'm probably playing this. Take Jeremiah Love. You're slow playing it for next year. You're probably not going to contend, but it's also not a team that I'm trying to tank. Like, I'm not moving Lamar Jackson. If you move Lamar Jackson, now you're looking at next year, like, I need to replace my entire quarterback room. I don't want to do that. Not with a team that doesn't have 5 firsts next year. Because you're going to have assets, but then you're going to be relying on, like, okay, if I can get 2 unless you're getting a tier down for Lamar that is like Trevor Lawrence in a first or something like that, I would do that. Because that's just a good leverage tier down regardless for this quarterback scoring. But aside from that, I'm not just moving Lamar for like 3 players. Or I'm not moving Lamar for just rookie picks. Like, I'm okay kind of locking him in, knowing that that 101 next year is a pick that I'm probably going to want to pivot off of. Because I probably will have to take Jeremiah Smith at 101, because I'll want to. He's the best asset to come in Dynasty in, probably since Saquon. I know we've had Bijan, I know we've had Genty, but I can't remember an asset this pumped in terms of the community just thinking he's automatically like the best player already. This just isn't the format where you want him. So this is not a team I'm tanking for next year. You have to slowly start building up, but I'm also not going to say, okay, I'm going to take Jeremiah Love and then I'm going to try to go backwards for a year. So I like the team. I think you have a good spot to do a little damage this year. Would I let the tight ends pass in the draft? I mean, I would cut Ben Sinnott probably if you can't get anything for him. I mean, you can start up to 4 tight ends. It's not a terrible premium for you to be able to take the tight ends. And so, like, if you think best player available is a tight end, fine. All it does, though, is it gives you flexibility to move Fannin or Gadsden or Laporta. Like, all taking one of those tight ends does is gives you the flex. I probably don't want to roster 6 tight ends. You're already pushing it. Now, the good news is you have 4 of the 8 top tight ends. So you still haven't violated the rule of, like, I have one outside of that flex range. You're not sitting on also a Hunter Henry or a David Njoku or someone like that. Like, now you have more pressure to have to move one. So sure, if you think tight end's best player available, fine, but it's not because it's best player available. It's because I know I can flexibly then move one of the other guys because I'm probably at my good point with 4 because they're flexible. So just focus on adding. I mean, these later picks, I'm probably just taking stabs on as many quarterbacks and running backs as I can for this year, knowing my receivers are going to be kind of a shit show. I mean, you have Pearsall and Pickens. They're pretty risky themselves. Like, I wouldn't go into the year expecting those guys to smash either. But I kind of like both at their current market, especially on this build. If those two survive into next year, past next year, what I mean, and then you add Jeremiah Smith, now the team really just needs to build out in the flexes with the most dominant positions, and you already have tight end covered. So it literally about next offseason would be adding as many of the kind of RBs that nobody really wants that are placeholders. You know, the Pachecos, the Algiers, those types. Whoever's next year's version of those is probably what you're looking to add next offseason because everything else should be built out. So it's a fun team. I mean, having Jeremiah Love is huge. I wouldn't move off of him. You can get cute and say, I'm going to try to split him, but I have a hard time even finding the right deal to split. It's like Achane and a 27 first. That's the type of deal I would need. James Cook and a 27 first. Like, it would have to be that type of deal, and I'm still even hesitant to do it in a year where I'm not already there and I know I probably have a chance to make the playoffs. So just take him because if he's good, man, like you just said, if he's good, he's going to survive into next year, and he's going to be one of those cornerstone assets at the position that's the most dominant. So appreciate the submission, Dewey. Number 2, we got Swanasaur. Let me get this puppy posted in the chat. So this is a 10 by 10. So we're going to shift to a 10-teamer here. A little bit different in terms of how we're going to approach it. So 10 by 10. Got to load Swanasaur up here. So on this one, he says 10 by 10. And it looks like it's a home league, considering that it's called Hometown Dynasty. It is 29-man rosters. It's funny, I actually got a little feedback on that 40% rule. So other people kind of thinking the same thing with not having too many roster spots. I mean, this is a 10 by 10. Here's the team. 10 by 10, 29-man rosters. This includes the taxi. Actually, it's 26 if you take out the IR. So 26 with the taxi. So not that bad. A little bit more than I'd want. I'd probably want this to be more like 22 to 23, but 26 is fine. It is half PPR. Let's just go down here and look at the settings. Half PPR. It is an extra 0.25 tight end premium. It is depressed quarterback scoring, 4-2. So about as depressed as it gets. And it looks like that's it. Other than these 40-yard passing, rushing, receiving bonuses, which, I mean, I really don't even factor those in. 0.75 tight end premium, half PPR for everything else, and then extremely depressed QB scoring. So let's take a look at the WAR in this one. So this league, I believe this one is it. Let's see. Yeah, this one's it. Hometown Dynasty. So 10 by 10. It's obviously pretty compressed at the top. Let's get rid of receivers. Tight ends absolutely don't matter here, so I'm going to get rid of those. So as you can see, the 2 densest positions, running back and quarterback, makes sense in a 10-teamer. 10-teamer, it's going to be a little more condensed, especially in a half PPR like this. Receivers matter, but again, look how steep this is, and then look how flat the receivers are. This is just one of those leagues where the receivers almost all market and just very little, I don't want to say very little difference because the threshold is pretty high of kind of where you want your starters to be. But just the names most likely in a 10-teamer are going to exceed the actual value to your team. The value of like a Garrett Wilson type is probably going to far exceed the actual equity on your team when you have him. And then what's interesting is look at the difference in the steepness of this in a 10-teamer. I mean, you get down to here and you're looking at just the quarterback 12 is a third of the contribution as the elite quarterbacks. So you're talking about even when you're down into QB 12, 15 range, yes, there might be some good dynasty names, but in terms of how they're actually contributing to your roster, very little. If you cut this off at like QB 15 and then you just look at QB 15 and beyond, and the reality is replacement level at QB 3 or 2 is typically right around this number, 20 to 22 range. Like right here, QB 22 is kind of typically what you would expect if you start a backup that's getting a start. So compare that to like QB 15, and there's just not a lot of value. This is what I talk about when you get into 10-teamers. Everybody can get these guys. Every team should have 2 of these guys. Hell, there'll be teams that'll have 4 of these guys because they're so easy to get because it's only a 10-teamer. But they just matter very little. Whether I have Dak Prescott or Jared Goff or Baker, that just doesn't matter. You're better off getting 4 of these guys and just trying to play matchups than you are paying up for QB 10 because you think it's that much better than QB 15. It's really not. So here's what he says about the team. First rebuilder turned competitor who just won the ship in the 4th year of the league. Not the best team, but a shoe-in for top 3 comfortably, continually for the next few years if I play my cards right. So here's the roster. And lo and behold, look at that QB room. So we have Josh Allen and Jaden Daniels. Swanosaur, I think people underestimate just how much that matters or how big of an edge that is in a 10-teamer. I mean, I already talked about the 4-2 format, but then you add into the fact that you have the QB1 and Josh Allen. I know he's been injured, but probably a top 4, top 5 favorite to finish in the top 3 in Jaden Daniels. And then you have Dak Prescott as the convenient, if I need to start him, QB3, which I don't hate. Jarrett Stidham can go. 0 use. We always look at this. Number of quarterbacks rostered. Look at this number. 51. 51 QBs rostered. Next time we do a 12-teamer, we'll look at that number. It'll be in the high 60s. So this just tells you that there's 0 reason to have a backup. If this number is under 60, I wouldn't want to roster any backups. I don't want to play the backup strategy. In fact, the only way I'd start playing the backup strategy is if there's like 10 that I can scoop up, but I can also shave down my QB room. So, for instance, if you could trade Dak Prescott for a first and just roster a few extra backups, you could do that because you could literally just account for a few other roster spots and you could carry 4 or 5 Jarrett Stidhams if you needed them as an emergency. And even if there was an injury to one of your starters, there's a chance that you can get the backup. Maybe not to Jaden Daniels since it's Mariota, but you can get a backup that's starting off waivers because there's only 51 rostered. So that's how you pivot. It isn't that you trade Allen or Daniels. You just pivot and say, well, QB3 I can basically pick up for free. So I'll trade my QB3 to get something more valuable. But I like the way that you're set up because right now you don't have to allocate another roster spot to QB. You're 3 and out. And you're comfortable with these 3. Like the way that it's built, you're totally comfortable with those 3. So get rid of Stidham. Let's look at the rest of the rosters. I mean, in a 10x10, you have Bijan, RB1, Brock Bowers, tight end 1, Puka Nacua, wide receiver 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's really just a disgusting top 5 between Bowers, Puka, Bijan, Allen, and Daniels. I mean, you have 5 of the top 15 assets in Dynasty right there. And then the rest of your lineup just has to fill in the gaps. And, oh, yeah, I mean, you have Aronde Gadsden, who I don't want to flex him here. So this is definitely an overage. Gadsden, not a guy I want to hold value in. I'd rather just have Andrews. I only want to roster 2 tight ends at the most here. Hell, I bet you we can look at waivers and look at tight ends and see what's available. Let's see. I mean, dude, when you got Chiga Conquo and Cade Otton and Michael Mayer on waivers, like, why do I even have 3 tight ends? Hell, I probably could get away with 1. And I know it's a home league, but, like, Gadsden's got to go. And then we have Javonte Williams and Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle and Woody Marks and Tyler Algier. Oh, yeah, we have the 101. I mean, good Lord. You're adding Jeremiah Love to this team. Oh, yeah, Malik Neighbors and George Pickens as my wide receiver 2 and 3. Let me get to your question here. I was going to see what you thought about flexing tight ends in this type of league. Yeah, you don't want to flex tight ends here. Don't want to flex tight ends. I mean, if Gadsden's a top 5 tight end, you could get away with flexing him. But I would still probably rather flex one of the other positions. The exception would be, I mean, we can check the WAR, and it'll tell you. I mean, here we go. We can look at these 3 positions. And I forgot to check the number of starters at each one. So it's 3 receivers. Okay, so it's 2 and 3. So you're really comparing the receivers down here. So when you get down here to receiver, so you're sitting down in this range, 31 through, this is about the start of the flex range for receivers. Running backs, you're right about here. So you're looking at about 0.5 for running backs. You're looking at 0.3 for receivers. So there's where the flexes are more dominant for running backs. But let's just say, what does it take to get to 0.4 WAR for the year at tight end? There you go. Top 7. That's kind of your cutoff. It's like Gadsden has to be top 6, top 7 to be flexible. And he could be. Mark Andrews could be. That's the funny thing, is like Mark Andrews could be that. So you definitely have excess at tight end. Hell, at tight end, if your team was not where it was, I would say you could maybe move Brock Bowers with Andrews and Gadsden. I kind of like that combo of Andrews and Gadsden. I think if you play that right, you can get top 5 numbers out of that combo. But you don't have to. You already have Bowers. You already have an extra 27 first. I mean, dude, this team's pretty disgusting. The fact that you're going to be sitting there going like, man, I have to bench one of Javonte Williams or Chuba Hubbard or Rico Dowdle or Rondé Gadsden. Like, all of those guys are bench players. I mean, your lineup, even when your lineup isn't healthy, you have such star power at the top. I mean, you said you're not the best team. I'm kind of curious who's better. Now, let's look at this team. And humor me. I just want to see these 2 teams that Dynasty Daddy has as higher starter rank than you. Let's see. So this team apparently is better starter rank. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, what about this team's better? Your receivers are better, just as good or better. I mean, your tight ends kill this team. I mean, McCaffrey and Saquon, sure, but give me Jeremiah Love and Bijan. I mean, Baker, Darnold, and Kyler, and Shador, and Tua, and Mariota. I mean, yeah, dude, you got the best team in the league. It's really not close. It's really not close. I mean, they don't even have you as the number 1 in assets either, which is crazy. This team has more assets. This is the team you got to be worried about. Burrow, Mahomes, Goff, Genty, Gibbs, Cook, Chase, JSN, Rome, Rice, McBride. This is the team. I mean, this is the only team that, I mean, if I came into this league and I saw your team and this team, I mean, between the 2 of you, you guys have 20 of the top 30 players, counting the 101, and you have 227 firsts. So, I mean, this is just one of those where unless you're going to be able to hurt this team, it's going to be hard to upgrade your team higher than this one. So it feels like you're just destined to face this team in the finals. And you just hope that your 10 are better than his 10. But, like, truly, this is one of those teams that you can't make it that much better. Half the players that could upgrade your starting lineup are on this team. Like, literally, this team has another 5 or 6. And if you count Burrow and Mahomes, I mean, they're a little lower than your QB room, but they're still 2 top 8 QBs. But, yeah, just disgusting, these 2 teams. I mean, I can't imagine if you're this team down here. Like, this is the kind of team that would say, man, how do I turn this around? And it's tough because it's not even about what you do. It's that these teams have to be so poor in terms of managing their assets that it's just almost impossible for that team to turn it around in any reasonable amount of time. You need 5 years probably to build your team up to where you guys are. So good job, Swanosaur. Just, you're living on the edge here, but I just don't see a way you can really upgrade much. I know that wasn't much of a roster rescue, but the only thing I would do is really start squeezing the rest of the league at running back. I mean, the flex rate at running back is the highest over the other two positions. And so I'm basically getting my receivers and getting out. I'm getting my tight ends and I'm getting out. And I'm getting my getting my quarterbacks and getting out. So I'm maybe allocating 10 roster spots to those three positions. Meaning I'll keep like Deebo Samuel, Jalen Coker, Calvin Ridley. Maybe in an emergency I would use them. But my focus is building up more of these guys. Chuba, Tyler Algier, Rico Dowdle. Like, I want more of those guys. So how do I get there? Can I move Kyle Williams and the 204 to go get a moderate level running back? You know, can I go get somebody else that's kind of in? Can I go get somebody in the Chuba Hubbard range? Like, that's worth it to do versus just make another pick. Because you don't need a receiver. You don't need a quarterback. You don't need a tight end. Like, you're really just kind of hoping the draft gives you running backs. And this probably still isn't the class that's going to do that. All right, number 3, we got Dynasty Scaredy. Put this one in the chat here. So we're pivoting to a 12-teamer. This is a Start 10, and it is called Fried Bologna Sandwich. That is the name of the league. So this is a 12x10. Quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, a tight end, 2 flexes, and a super flex. So a pretty standard 12x10 lineup league. It is 27-man rosters. So pretty optimal. Start 10, 26 is the optimal. This is 27, so we're good with that. Let's take a look at his team here and make sure this is right. Here we go. So 12x10, 27. Let's go down, look at the premiums. I think the passing 4-1 for quarterbacks. Other premiums, PPR across the board. Don't see any tight end premium here. No, very vanilla. So no tight end premium, 12x10, 27-man rosters. Let's take a look at the war. Oh, man. Everybody's seen this before, right? You immediately know there's no tight end premium here. I mean, just the tight end line just kind of chilling down here. Get rid of the quarterbacks so you can see it again. So knowing that it's a 12-teamer, I mean, this is where kind of that flex range of tight ends start. And I mean, they barely contribute. So like, this is absolutely a league you have to do the analysis of how cheaply can I get away with my tight end room. Now, if I already have a good one, that's a different story. If I don't have any at all, that's one where I might consider taking one in this draft. But there's just zero flex viability at all. Where you almost don't even want to waste roster spots. Let's take a look at what we have. So he says, older team, tried to go all in the last 2 years. It hasn't worked. No picks in 26, extra 27 first, mid-activity. Feels like I can make another solid run with the right moves, stay the path, or get ahead of a rebuild. So decent roster construction. I mean, Lamar, and then we're kind of just patchworking together the QB room going forward. Given the 4 point per passing TD, I'm probably okay living in this range. You don't have the assets to go upgrade, and unless you're upgrading significantly, which allows you to just totally reshape your QB room, you probably are forced to bet on Kyler and Rodgers and Mac Jones on this team. Go look at the quarterbacks. I said it would be 4 if it's below 60. There you go, 70. So with 27-man rosters, and I get it, it might expand a little bit in the offseason. I don't know. Yeah, this says 17. I mean, good God. 70 quarterbacks rostered in 27-man rosters. Anybody that's played in rosters that are this shallow, that's hard. That's hard to get to that number. I can think of a league right now that's 12x10 with 27-man rosters, and I purposely pivoted to 3 QBs because I didn't want to roster backups because they were available much more so than here. Here, you're talking an average of 6 QBs per team with this scoring. The average team is rostering about 22% of their team at quarterback. Crazy. And we have 7, so we're not really helping the cause. But anyway, probably not going to find any quarterbacks on waivers. I mean, look at the waivers here. When you see the names Curtis Rourke, Kyle Trask, hey, there's Drew Lock. You can pick up Drew Lock. There's a good one. That's a free one to pick up. But typically when you see these names and you're like, yeah, probably not a lot of backups available when there's 70 that are rostered. So that strategy's out. We're probably forced to play this QB room that what we have. Maybe you try to flip something else for a quarterback. Tight end. We have too many tight ends. Probably got to cut Colby Parkinson. I don't know if you can get anything for Juwan Johnson, but if I can get a backup quarterback for Juwan Johnson, I'd be willing to roll with Colby Parkinson as my backup. That's how little I care about it. You lose Trey McBride, you're cooked anyway. You're not replacing him. You're really just adding another body. I mean, there's nothing on waivers. I mean, what were the rostered tight ends? 52? Okay, that tells me that there's at least something probably that'll come available at tight end, especially with the rookie class. I bet you that number probably still levels off in the 50s. But you only need 2. You're wasting a spot on having an extra tight end here. So maybe move Juwan Johnson. Can you get a backup QB for him? One of the ones, the higher end ones. Can you get like Davis Mills, Tyson Bagent, Marcus Mariota, that type? Can we get that level of backup quarterback? A guy that's probably more likely to get a start, and if they do, they're not awful. But that's probably what I'd be trying to do with this tight end room. And no one else is going to really value Juwan Johnson above that. You can try, but I'm guessing you're just going to have to take what you can get if you're trying to achieve a 2 tight end build. Receivers, you're going slim. You're already at a gross level at receiver, but you really don't have a path to fix it. And like you said, do I stay the path? Do I try to get ahead of a rebuild? I don't really think you have a choice, man. Like, you don't have enough pieces this year that are at least liquid enough right now. Now, certainly if we get to the summer and things just didn't shake out right, like it didn't shake out good for Trey Benson or Rico Dowdle or Tony Pollard or Isaiah Pacheco or A.J. Brown. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Like, this team really is going to be fragile going into the summer. You got a lot of old players. You got a lot of players that are 30-plus. You got a lot of players that have more value on your roster than they do to the market, and that's the bulk of the team. So there really isn't a pivot. There isn't like, well, let me sell Terry McLaurin for a second. Like, I don't want to do that. The pivot is basically just stay the course, and you know that you're extremely fragile. You do have your own first, probably one of those first that you have to keep an eye on. I don't want to trade it, but it isn't one where I'm excited to move it today and be like, well, I need one more piece or I need to split it in for 2 starters. That's really the type of deal you're looking for, but I'm willing to wait a little longer to do that. So I'm staying the course, cut some of these receivers. I mean, why do we have Nick Nash? Why do we have Efton Chisholm? Those guys can go. I know they're probably on the taxi, but as soon as I got to take them off, I'm picking up something else. And just continue. You clearly know how to construct. I mean, you're already carrying all the RBs. Like, I like every one of these running backs that you're rostering to at least keep on a roster. Backup quarterback, your build's going to need backup quarterbacks, so I'm fine keeping the ones you have. So it's just you're riding with the ones you have here. I mean, between Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs, you're kind of just hoping that both are usable to any degree. And then your tight ends are what they are. But a team with Lamar, Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, Nico, A.J. Brown, Trey McBride, like, it's got a shot. I mean, Dynasty Daddy, as much as I don't necessarily believe it always, still has you as the second best lineup. Now, I'm guessing that's probably a little overinflated, but it's good enough to win. You just don't have a lot of flexibility. So I'd run it back because there really isn't a path to rebuild a team when it gets to this point. So appreciate the submission. Dynasty Scaredy, thank you. Number 4, this is Cody. Old Overreaction Pod, previous podcast host for DD. Cody, hope you're doing well. So Cody submitted a 12 by 10. Let me pull him up on Dynasty Daddy here. So this is a 12 by 10. It is 33 man rosters. Come on, Cody. Too many roster spots, bro. What's with the 12 by 10? 33. Too many, my friend. Too many. See if that's true when we plug it in here. So 12 by 10. tight end, running back, flex. We got kickers and defense in here too. Is that right? Yeah, 23-man rosters. That's it. Oh, okay. So, scoring-wise, 6-2, 2 PPR for tight ends. Defense and kicker unfortunately exist, but can treat them like they don't other than the roster spot. So, really, 31-man rosters, let's call it. Still probably too many, but it is what it is. I won't say it. I've said it on every other show on why it's just too many. It creates a market where people just roster stuff to roster stuff, which creates an artificial market for pretty much everything that's on the back of teams. So everybody's player 21 through 30 literally just exists on their team just because they have to be. Probably more like 26 to 30. But it's just 5 extra spots that would make waivers a little more fun. It would make Fab a little more valuable. It would make trading the back-end players a little more possible because everybody can't just roster as many as they can pick up. So that's the reason. If you have too many roster spots, I don't even think that's something that's too crazy to ask for the commish to vote on changing. Still early enough in the offseason. But really consider that 40% and why it'll just make the market feel a lot more active and pure when you have it that way. But anyway, here's what Cody says. He blew his 26 and 27 first on Trey McBride. Tried to win, fell short. Wide receiver is aging out, and shallow RB is missing a second stud. A thin-built roster that will attempt to sustain itself on the seconds and thirds, pushing them to 27 or 28. Seconds this year are 3, 7, 9, 11, 12, and then 4 thirds and a fourth. So the good news is we have a lot of picks. The bad news is this is a league where the value of those picks is you're just adding more players to your team. So we have some stuff we could cut. I know this will kill Cody, but Zach Ertz, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I guess you hold on to him just because, again, it's so many roster spots. But let's take a look at the war here, and you'll just see where the premium kind of comes into play. So we'll get rid of QB for a second. So here, even though the tight ends are lower, you can see the viability of the tight ends in the flexes a lot higher. Like this is your flex tight end range, and let's just take tight end 18. That's right in the middle. So it's right around 0.4, 0.38. Like that's in line with these flex receivers right here. Heck, a little bit higher than the flex receivers in the same spot. Running backs, I mean, definitely higher, but we know the nature of running backs. Again, kind of like QBs, a replacement level running back is probably going to be up in this range somewhere. But tight ends are viable here to flex. So I'm okay. These are starters. Colston Loveland and Mark Andrews are starters. McBride's a hammer, but these two guys are flexes. So in a start 10, you're slimming down what you need at receiver, which is good because we probably only have 4 or 5 even usable receivers. And I'm hesitant to even call Tyreek Hill usable. I'm not calling Isaac Tesla usable yet. Deebo Samuel right on the fringe probably. So it's really Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, and then I'm essentially streaming a third receiver for now. Mac Hollins, I mean, maybe. But I'll give Cody the credit. This is the right build for the way that he's constructed. I mean, you're essentially taking that third receiver spot and saying, I'm at the mercy of just whatever I have on my team. Because you're flexing 2 of these tight ends every week. And bang for your buck, they're better flexes than flexing Deebo Samuel or Tyreek Hill. Unless those guys are back to what they were 5 years ago, you're probably a better bet just flexing your tight ends. So you can go really slim at receiver to the point where it's like, man, I'm starting Mac Hollins in a start 10 lineup league. That's usually not a good idea, but at the same time, this is the type of team where when I say if you're going to roster those types of receivers, you have to be able to play them. Having Mac Hollins on a team where you have 6 deep at receiver just makes no sense. It's a waste of a spot. So you probably do have to go a little higher volume at receiver, which means, I don't know, Cody, with your rookie picks this year, do you take a shot on a receiver or 2 and try to aim for something a little better than Tesla? It's not a good bet. We know that. Drafting mid-second round receivers or lower, that's probably what you're going to have access to. But I don't mind taking 1 or 2. Simply because, like, the value to your team of hitting on, a Chris Brazel type or Jeremy Bernard or someone like that, even if they're just a wide receiver 4, is more valuable to your team. Like Jalen McMillan from a couple years ago. If you can find a Jalen McMillan that gives you like 9.5 to 11 points per game, like that's probably more valuable on this team. So I want to take a couple. And part of that is just because you have 10 picks and you don't have shit to do with them. You already have a ton of running backs, so drafting every running back probably doesn't make sense. Quarterback room, I mean, you are a little flush at QB, and you have guys like Stidham, Mariota, Fields, Willis. I know you can probably pull for one of your elite QBs and move them if you wanted. That's a spot where you could pull and find some extra value, because I know you have no 27 firsts. So if you needed some extra liquidity, you could roll with that. And maybe you try that, because it is a very top-heavy team. But I like the build. I mean, as much as it's a team this team, I would sum it up, it needs a lot of work. And when I mean it needs a lot of work, sure, it needs better players, but it just needs a lot of TLC. It needs a lot of week to week. I need to make sure that I'm at a certain threshold to keep it in contention. And I have a couple levers that I can pull. I could pull from Burrow or Herbert. I mean, with Chase, McBride, and Genty, in a start 10, if Burrow and Herbert are playing, and then you have Stafford and Willis, and you wanted to pull from one of those guys, and you could add one more player in the Loveland, A.J. Brown type range or better, your lineup's pretty good. It just doesn't have a lot of leeway if things go wrong. I mean, you lose Jamar or Genty or McBride. Honestly, Jamar and Genty mean a lot more to this team than is McBride even. But if you lose one of those guys, it completely collapses the position as a whole. So this is a fun team. It's just one of those teams that you really have to be meticulous with where you take your shots. I mean, I'm definitely trying to push some of these picks out to the future. I'm definitely trying to trade a few of them to see if there's anything else I can pick up. Can I find one more receiver? Maybe in somewhere between A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel, and just give me a little bit of relief with having to add a couple more receivers. Maybe I still stick with a receiver room of 6 instead of having to go up 8 or 9. Because at that point, I'm basically starting one receiver, but I'm rostering 5 or 6 of them just to have that one. I don't want to roster 6 Mac Hollins. I know I could go to that range and just pick the best of the 6 every week, but I'm still accounting 6 roster spots at a position that I just don't really need to. So this will be a fun one to track. I don't know what your plan is with the picks, but it's definitely trying to get out of some of them. I don't want to add 10 rookies. I add 10 rookies to this team, and I'm at a point where I'm cutting guys like Carson Wentz and Samaje Perine and Devin Singletary. I don't want to get there. Feels like diminishing returns, especially with so many roster spots. I'm fine carrying all of these guys on the back of my roster. I want to kick some of these picks to the future. So good luck. Take some shots. Maybe a way to get some future capital back is to take a couple shots with these picks on receivers and then see if you get, do you hit on a Chris Bell at 203, and then all of a sudden you can get a 28 first after he comes back in the preseason or something like that. That's probably the move you have to make, as tempting as it is for you to say he's going to be good for my future. It might be a better bet to try to flip one of those guys, maybe combine it with something to get a 28 first or even a 29 first. Think about that. As soon as these 26 picks are done, 29 firsts are going to be available. And is that something you would liquidate? I know you're not huge into trading picks that far out, but it might be a team that you can turn one of those or one of these into a later pick in 28 or 29. So appreciate the submission, Cody. Fun team. Always like myself a team where I have to really grind the margins at every roster spot, but also is getting the job done. And I know you're one of the best managers to do it. All right, next up, we got see if I say this right. El Peludo is this roster. So let me pull it up here. This is a best ball. And I swear, I didn't purposely choose a best ball, but I'm not upset that we got a best ball here mixed in. So this is the best balls in the business. This is a best ball orphan that he took over. It's a 12 by 10, 34-man rosters. I'm a little more liberal with the roster spots in a best ball, but I still don't want to go out this far. See if I can find the team here. See what it is called. There we go. This is it. ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A very creative sleeper name. So it's 12 by 10, 34-man rosters. It is 6 minus 3 for passing. It is half PPR and an extra half a point for tight end premium. Let's make sure there's nothing else crazy here. So, yep, 6 minus 3, extra half point tight end premium. That's it. Nothing else fancy. Very vanilla. Half PPR, 1 point tight end premium, 34-man rosters, including the taxi. So it's an orphan. Decided to go for it. Got lucky with some players on the squad being starters, both QBs and running backs. Quarterbacks are now horrible. Running backs are subpar. Wide receiver and tight end is good. Not ideal for this format. Probably need to tear it all down, correct? But trading is not active, or trading is not easy. It is low activity and low motivation to trade. Help. Yes, I'm a real person, and this is my real account. It is from a time before I became addicted to Dynasty and thought I'd never use this app called Sleeper. Interesting. Okay, so let's break this one down. 12 by 10, 34-man rosters. So just looking at the WAR real quick, we know it's half PPR with a 1 tight end premium. We know it's 6 minus 3. So you notice in 6 minus 3, you're going to get a little bit of a steeper quarterback number here. And it makes sense, right? You get down here, on the lower end is where you're probably going to have quarterbacks that throw more interceptions. So that 3 is going to hurt a little bit more. Maybe if it's just a point per game across a season, fine. But it's going to decline a little bit here. But then really it's the quarterback density is still higher than everything else simply because the other scoring is depressed. It's only half PPR. It's only an extra half PPR for tight ends. So the overall scoring, this is one of those leagues where the overall scoring is probably going to be in the 140s to 160s per week. And in a 6 point per passing touchdown, the quarterback scoring is going to be higher density because of that. So it's only 10 starters, but everything else doesn't have a bunch of premiums. You notice in these leagues where it's full PPR with like 2 PPR for tight ends and it's point per carry, you notice all these lines are moved up. And that's the opposite of what it looks like here because there's no fancy premiums. There's no bonuses, nothing for any of the positions other than the half PPR for tight ends. So let's take a look at the team. Whew, yeah, it's definitely rough. I mean, last year we got by with literally, we probably had 2 or 3 starters every week at QB. Between Tua until he got benched, between Fields before he got benched. Mariota started half the year, and Aaron Rodgers started every game. So we got by. And then, boom. This whole quarterback room kicks the bucket. Backups, I'm curious. Best ball, how many backups are being rostered? It should be under 60. Wow, 66. Okay, that's inefficiency right there. That tells me there's a lot of wasted roster spots at QB. And that's probably a product of there being so many roster spots, period. But it tells me that there's some meat on the bone at the other positions. So let's take a look at the other positions. See what we got. We got anything usable out there? How many receivers are rostered here? 141, okay. 112 running backs. Yeah, there's not a lot, but there's too many quarterbacks that are rostered on this one. So we're carrying 2 backups. Do I need to tear it down? I think that's the ultimate question. The premium isn't high enough for me to want to roster this many tight ends, but again, like where from this tight end room are you going to pull and move? Isaiah Likely, is that a trade candidate when he goes somewhere else? Probably. Chig Okonkwo is a free agent. And I'm not even saying these guys are good, but sometimes when a player signs in a new spot, people are more excited for them and they're willing to say, here, I'll give you a second. Give you a 28 second for Chig Okonkwo because he signed in my favorite spot. Or Isaiah Likely, definitely be able to get a second for him. Like, I'm doing that just for the sake of churning my roster. Because I'm not sure when you go to this receiver room, other than Igbuka, Nico, Higgins, like a lot of these guys are, I mean, literally between Ridley, Diggs, Godwin, Shakir, Moore, and Pittman, and Metcalf. That's a nice best ball receiver room. The problem is there's no liquidity there. Malik Washington and Kanata Mumfield can go. And then running back-wise, I mean, you have too many running backs, but again, we have a lot of roster spots. I'm really focused on running backs that are higher than, I'll show you the range. running backs that are probably higher and about right this range, maybe top 50. But I don't want to be carrying pure handcuffs unless I don't care about the season. And we're getting close to where you're rostering guys like Jalen Wright or Emmanuel Wilson. I mean, those guys don't have enough of a role on a weekly basis that they're probably ever going to hit my lineup, but they're also backups in decent spots where I don't want to cut them either. So I have to sacrifice a few spots for that. But otherwise, these three can go: Zonovan Knight, Rasheen Ali, Khalil Herbert. This is a tough team because I actually can see this team not being that bad. Doesn't have quarterbacks. But if it had quarterbacks, it has enough usable pieces that the team's probably a fringe playoff team. But it doesn't really have any outs to improve super quickly, especially at QB. So I don't think you have to tear it down. I don't think there's enough to liquidate to tear it down. Sure, you could go split Igbuka. Can you trade Igbuka and get back the 106 and another starter, something like that? I don't know. I don't know the price. But if I'm splitting anything, I only have a few levers that I can pull to split, and it probably has to be a very specific type of split. Everything else, there's just commodity. This is actually the type of team I like to trade with in a best ball league. This is the type of team where I go and say, hey, I'll give you a future second, but you give me Ramondre Stevenson and Calvin Ridley. Like, that's the type of deal I would want to do if I was buying from this team. So that's the type of deal I'd want to do if I was selling, but I'd rather just sell like Ramondre Stevenson for the second. Can I sell Michael Pittman for the second? Can I sell a player straight up for a pick? If I can do that, I'm fine doing it in a few spots. Because it's really just diminishing returns, what you're trading away. Like, you have enough receivers. Trading Chris Godwin off this team is not going to change the outcome of your team. But you got to find a few spots where you do that. Because otherwise, this team just ages for another year. All of these guys here that you really can't get anything for today, you're not going to get anything more for them tomorrow. And then same with these RBs. Like, I like this running back room. Kyron, Warren, Judkins, Ramondre, JCM, Jordan Mason. Like, this running back room could probably play. Especially if you add one more. I don't know if that's via trade. I mean, you have the 207, the 301. Like, this room could get by. But it doesn't get better. So it feels like some of these pieces are going to survive into 2027. Others aren't, which means you have no choice but to kind of pick your spots. You know, find a few players that you know there's some interest, and you trade away Ramondre, you trade away DJ Moore, whatever it is. Pack a couple seconds for next year. Your team isn't going to get it. Your team's not going to get worse by trading those players. It's probably not going to get better in any way. So you're really just in no man's land. So instead of just completely gutting it, you're probably just sitting at a place where maybe I get to a spot where I'm hanging on, and then I can pivot a little bit to trying to buy something later if I wanted. But other than that, I'm just picking my spots. When will people willing to buy? And I want to try to do 1-for-1 deals. What can I move straight up for seconds next year? Can I move Kyron Williams for a first, even if it's 28? Like, finding a couple of those deals, you're not really completely gutting it. Because when people say I want to completely gut it, they want to trade everything. And right now is just not the time to trade probably 80% of this roster. So good luck with it. That's probably one you have to retool. And definitely you got to focus on getting a quarterback. I don't know if you can move the 107 for a QB. If you really wanted to go the other way, could you move the 107 for like Baker? Someone like that. And just take your chances. But you don't even really need to do that if you don't feel comfortable. Because it's not a team that's like a Baker Mayfield away from winning anyway. But in the future, you're going to need a quarterback base to contend again in a best ball. So thank you for the submission. And last one, we got Xavier. So this is a 16-teamer. And again, if you want a formal roster review with me, Chill15 is the coupon code. Enter it on the roster review screen, and you get 15% off. So we're ending with a bang here. We're ending with a 16-teamer from Xavier. Let me get it inputted here real quick. And again, I didn't purposely pick a 16-teamer, but that's what it came up with. I didn't even say, like, pick a variety of different types of leagues, but here we are. So it's a 16-teamer. If you ain't first, you're last is the team name or the league name. It's 16-team Superflex Start 11. So we're starting 176 players, the 12-team equivalent to that. pretty deep. It's like a 12 by 14, 12 by 15. So extremely deep in terms of the equivalent if you're thinking through this through a 12-team lens. Let's get down to his team. Here we go. Draft Pick Slut. Great team name. So it's 27-man rosters, so appropriate for a league that is this deep. 27-man rosters. Maybe you go a little bit slimmer, but that includes the taxi too. So I'm guessing the active is maybe like 23. Let's see, we got 12. Yep, 23. So we got 16 by 11, 23-man rosters with the taxi. So that's actually pretty appropriate. That should keep the true value of even the 10th or 11th starter for each team. There should be some ability to trade, a guy like Kamani Vidal or somebody like that. Like there should be a market to move those guys. Even if it's not a lot, they will have a chance of fitting in somebody's lineup. So scoring, he says it is 2 PPR for tight ends. It is PPR for everything else. It's 6 point per passing touchdowns with -2 for interceptions. Let's get down to the bottom. Bunch of 100 and 200-yard bonuses. 25 completions, you get an extra point. I mean, those things do start to add up, but it's not enough where I'm going to change my quarterback tiers because of 25 completions in a game. I mean, most quarterbacks that get that are going to get that most weeks. The ones that aren't are probably never going to get there, but you're still only talking maybe an extra 0.75 points per game across the season. I mean, you're only getting a point. It's not like you're getting a point per completion. I mean, there's leagues where it's 0.5 per completion. I mean, think about that. A guy getting 30 completions versus somebody getting 15, they're literally getting an extra 7.5 points. That's huge. It's not the case here. So it's a little bit of a boost, but not much. Just missed the playoffs last year. Don't have my 26 first. Was competitive, but I love these bigger leagues that have a lot more variance. Yes, that is one of the first things that I want to check out. Just looking at the war here. So notice in a 16-teamer how stretched this line is. And the reason for that is just because this is reflecting the true scarcity of these guys. There is no replacement level at QB2 because obviously there's not enough quarterbacks to go around. So the value is just you have 2 quarterbacks. It's a complete life of luxury if you have 3. And if you don't have any, I mean, look at this. If somebody just has 2 top 12 quarterbacks and then somebody has none, it's almost impossible to make it up with skill players. Now, we at least have a start 11, but I know sometimes on Dynasty Deal Show, we get questions about the 16 by 9, 16 by 10, 16 by 8. I know there's a couple people that have a 16 by 9 that ask questions every once in a while. That's huge. Even if the quarterback scoring isn't massive. I mean, here it's 6 points. But if you don't have them, you don't have a path. If there's 3 teams that have 2 top 15 QBs and you barely have one, you're essentially losing 3 starters by not having that extra quarterback. And if your second quarterback is injured or your second quarterback is on the low end, you're just getting crushed. Doesn't matter what you have at the other positions. So keep that in mind when you look at this roster and you're like, what would I value Patrick Mahomes relative to Devon Achane or an elite receiver? So that's the first thing that I looked at here was, what is my quarterback room? Now, the good thing is we probably have 2 of those top 6, 8, 10 quarterbacks at minimum. So that's the baseline that just keeps us in play. Actually, I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to look at the quarterback rooms. And we have the 3rd best QB room. So May, Burrow, Shuck, Willis, Cousins. My God, that's a great QB room. I mean, that's a QB room that has extreme amounts of leverage. This team, we got Dart, T-Law, Shador, Rodgers. Again, Rodgers and Shador are very, very valuable here. I don't know what their market is, but I would equate a guy like Rodgers being worth, for just a season of Rodgers, is probably worth a guy like Kenneth Walker or better. If Rodgers was my QB3, that's what I would need to move him. Maybe even more. Just because the value of him as my QB3 is way higher than it would be in most teams. Now, I can live a little more fragile and say, well, I'm never going to need to use him. But if I do, look what he's contributing. If I need to use him and he's just here, he's contributing way more than just a random flex starter or my RB2 or my wide receiver 3, etc. So that's a good quarterback room. And then we got Xavier's. I mean, Josh Allen and then J.J. McCarthy and then nothing else. I didn't look at this. I wonder how many QBs are rostered here. I saw Dorian Thompson-Robinson rostered, so I wonder if we maybe get a record from quarterbacks rostered here. Are we in the 80s? 75. Okay, not quite. Josh Allen and McCarthy. Let's see. Bo Nix, Dak, Jacoby Brissett. Okay. Lamar, Stafford. Daniels, Danny Dimes, Mariota. Love and Stroud. Okay. Goff, Richardson, Mac Jones. Okay. We're starting to get into gross range here. Purdy and Penix. Okay. Caleb and Watson. I mean, look at these QB rooms. This was like the 7th best QB room here. And we're at Daniel Jones, QB2. That's a good one. But then we got Richardson, QB2. Mac Jones, QB2. Michael Penix. Deshaun. Quinn Ewers. Kyler. Tua and Bryce Young. Cam Ward and Geno Smith. Every one of these teams in the bottom half of the league, Justin Fields and Sam, they are praying that their second QB, that's Geno or Kyler or Tua or Fields or Richardson, they're just praying that one of those guys land in a spot where they're scoring. So how big of an advantage is it to have Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts or Drake May and Joe Burrow with Tyler Shuck and Malik Willis and Kirk Cousins just chilling? Dart and T-Law with Shador and Rodgers. I mean, I know I'm spending a lot of time on QB, but I want to highlight how much it matters. I would need probably like Achane and Jefferson to even consider moving a QB. And it would still be hard to stomach because having these two guys, whether you think they're going to win another Super Bowl or not, or you think they're top 5 QBs in Dynasty or not, who cares? The security that they have by just existing is you're a top 6 team by just having those two. And just finding spot fill starters every year, you're a playoff team. So I know you said last year you traded your 26 first. You missed the playoffs. You're competitive, but you love these bigger leagues with more variance. I think the homework's very simple, Xavier. Like if you can somehow find a QB3, I don't know how you do that. But think of how valuable it would be if like Derek Carr came back. I mean, that adds 5% value to your team, just Derek Carr. And it's the value that he's just there in case you need him. Because if you don't have him, and then you're forced to flex Brashard Smith or Kayshon Boutte, I mean, that's a massive downgrade to the team that is starting 2 QBs every week. And you said he's traded away Stroud for Mahomes in the fantasy playoffs because he tore his ACL. Okay. I mean, I don't hate that. As long as Mahomes comes back, I mean, that's probably a plus for you right there. So, anyway, I don't want to make this simple, but your team has an extremely high floor. Now, how do you get to a ceiling to beating some of these other teams? That's tough. I don't think these teams are any better than you, but your sole focus for the next 2 or 3 seasons is just adding skill players. For every Kamani Vidal you find, for every Kayshon Boutte you find, for every Cade Otton that's usable, like those are just pluses for you. The only pressure you have is to keep those guys afloat. And the premiums here aren't enough outside of the extra tight end to say that I'm really biased about what I get. Maybe tight end is what you can get in this year's draft. I don't know if there's a tight end that falls, but this is definitely a league where when I get to the 309 and the 314, I'll probably take a tight end. And it's probably like the tight end 10 of the class. Justin Jolie, Tanner Koziel, Jack Endries, like any of those guys that are there, like I would take those guys. Because in a 2 PPR, again, you're just trying to find flexes, even if they're low-value flexes. You know, for every guy you get that's like Cade Otton, I mean, that's a win. As long as this quarterback anchor is there. So it's a fun league. These are tough leagues when you have like 2 orphans and they don't have quarterbacks and they don't have high picks. You know, this is a league where you would take Fernando Mendoza 101 over Jeremiah Love. I don't even know who has the 101. Now, obviously, you try to trade back. Like, if you have the 102, you're feeling great because the 102 is just as valuable as the 101 here. But just this quarterback, my end-away thoughts are don't move these quarterbacks for the sake of trying to get ahead of the other teams that might be a little bit better. It's just not going to be worth it. They mean too much to have two guys occupying those slots every week and just filling in the gaps with the best value that you can. And if forever there's a third quarterback available, anytime there is, like, I would speculate. Because even adding a third QB to this room, even if it's, a Sam Darnold type, someone like that, is huge. Probably, again, if you needed one of them for like 4 games, that's worth almost every other starter that you have. So fun format. We don't do a lot of 16 teamers, but I like this one. And I agree with you. The pressure to hit on all the other stuff is a lot lower for your team, which makes it a little more fun. If you were starving for a QB and you didn't have a first, you'd be like, how many picks in the future do I have to sell? Like, I got to give up my 27 first and 28 first to get Dak. Could work, but that's probably what it takes to get one. Here, there's no pressure for you. What can I find usable players with? And that's it. So good team, Xavier. Appreciate you. That's Roster Rescue. It was a long one today. A little longer than I had said, but that's how we go when we do an extra team. This will be dropping to everybody on YouTube. So if you're interested in a formal roster review, go to the website, ddfantasyfootball.com. Jump in the community. You can get in Heisman through there. You can use the Trinity tracker. You can use the mock draft simulator, which has been used hot and heavy this past weekend with the combine results. And again, Chill15 is the discount code to get 15% off a personal review with me. So if you liked what you saw, a lot of this and more is what you would get on the personal review. It'll be 50 minutes of this, where we just literally go through your team. We go through your construction. We go through direction. We go through the war, all of those things. So Chill15 if you're interested in a review. Other than that, jump in the community, mock with us, take part with the shows that we do on the stage. We do a couple of them every single week. And until next time, I'm out. Be chill.